Gabby, I want to start the podcast off today with a Hey Gabby submission from a mysterious person on social media. On Twitter, he goes, or she goes, or they go by the name Taj. And here's the question that nobody in hockey media has asked yet about Quinn Hughes and the trade from the Vancouver Canucks to the Minnesota Wild. Taj's question goes like this. Does Bruce think the Minnesota Wild will try Quinn Hughes at center?
You know, that question has got way more work than it needed to be. But I kind of think that even though the Minnesota Wild are probably a little short at center right now, that they are definitely going to try Quinn at on defense with Brock Faber. And yesterday it went well an opening day. It's not just Quinn. I think the Quinn presence allowed Minnesota to score more goals than they've scored in an awful long time. And he got a goal himself, but just that presence of him being on the ice, I think really helped. So he's going to play defense. The situation in Vancouver was just, we had four centermen back then which really blew my mind. Like I thought we had the three best centermen in the league in Bo Horvat for a troika. JT Miller and Elias Pettersson and Jason Dickinson was our fourth line center. So I couldn't understand why he wanted me to play center. It's funny play story that I called in the coaches immediately and I said, hey, Jim wants me to try Quinn at center. What do you think? And they all looked at me as if I had 10 heads and like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I said, yeah, there's no way I'm doing this. I mean, even though his analytics aren't good on defense, that there's no chance that he's going to play center. And he's obviously made the right move. He's, in the top three defensemen, I think, the people that play that position on the planet right now. So, I mean, and I think he's going to really help Minnesota do something this year. I mean, I wouldn't want to be, well, I would want to be, but the fact of the matter is the 2-3 playoff round in the Central Division might be the best round in the whole Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, the race to first in the Central is very much on. Nobody wants a 2, nobody wants a 3. Welcome to the Hockey Lifers, brought to you by PenFed Credit Union. Great rates for everyone. Welcome once again to the Hockey Lifers. Jeff Merrick alongside Bruce Boudreau. And you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe Bill Guerin does make that phone call to John Hines. Maybe in between shifts on the blue line, maybe Quinn could do some spot duty at center, Gabby. We'll see where it goes with the Minnesota Wild. I say tongue planted firmly in cheek.
Yes. I think John Hines would look at the phone and say, what? Like this? I think after yesterday's game against a team like Boston that's playing really good and they sort of dismantled them, I think they're pretty happy with where everybody is playing.
Coming up on the podcast today, we have, Bruce, we have a double threat. Jackie Redmond is coming up talking about hockey and pro wrestling. She was at John Cena's last match on Saturday, working for WWE at Washington's Capital One Arena. We'll talk about the Quinn Hughes trade with her. We'll talk about John Cena. We'll talk about her Maple Leafs. We'll talk about broadcasting. We'll talk a lot about wrestling. We'll talk a lot about hockey coming up with Jack here in a couple of moments. In the meantime, as our producer Sean pointed out in our group chat, Quinn Hughes stays in the Boudreau family of NHL teams from Vancouver to Minnesota. And it's Zeev Boyum, Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, and a first-round pick going the other way, which is essentially 4 first-round picks. So for the Minnesota Wild, they are loading up in a division that is already loaded with the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. For the Vancouver Canucks, it is a beginning of not a full teardown rebuild, but a retooling of this team with younger players. How did you receive this news on Friday? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I thought it was done quicker than I thought it would be done, was first of all. But, Jim, once he puts his mind to making up a move, his whole career, he goes and he makes that move. So that doesn't surprise me. It surprises me a little bit. I think they got a little bit bigger haul back from Minnesota than they thought they would have gotten in other places, and only because Quinn has been asked to get out of there. I mean, you may have him for only one playoff run, and the reason I say that is, even though he's under contract for next year, is if he decides not to sign in Minnesota next year, you're not gonna you're gonna trade him again, because you don't want. I think you don't want to give all those players away just for one playoff run. So I mean,
Right.
I'm thinking that it's a gamble on Billy's part, but Billy's been a gambler his whole life, type thing. So I think he's shooting for the moon here, and I think they got a player now that can put that team in the same breath as Colorado and Dallas, and boy, the 2-3 playoff run there is going to be really probably the best series we're going to see all of the playoffs when it happens.
Let's drill down on the Bill Guerin and Minnesota side of this deal here for a couple of seconds before we pivot to Vancouver. Bill Guerin now has been involved in the biggest signing of the season in Kirill Kaprizov, and he's now been part of the biggest trade in the NHL this season with Quinn Hughes. This is obviously go for it time for Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild. We've talked plenty of times about how now they have the salary cap handcuffs off with the Zach Parise and Ryan Suter contracts. This is a team right now, and this is a general manager right now that isn't shy about, some would say, paying a premium to get the player that he wants. And we saw it here. Like, this is, of all possible teams and all possible packages that teams could have put together, I can't see, Bruce, any other general manager parting with a package that is as good as Bill Guerin put together. Now, the best player in the trade is Quinn Hughes, and he can always say, and rightfully so, I got the best player in the deal. But what do you think this says about Bill Guerin, the general manager? We talk a lot about, Jim Rutherford, and you mentioned when he makes up his mind to make a deal, he's singularly and laser focused on that deal. What are we thinking about Bill Guerin these days? This is a large move.
Oh, it's large, but everything he's done has been large when you think about it since he became a GM. And then he becomes the GM of Team USA first, and says, "Hey, if you don't want to play in the World Championships, don't be surprised if you're not going to be playing on the Olympic team," type thing. So that's a bold move, telling the players. And then and his picks are going to be bold in that he's going to pick the best team he thinks. Rather, maybe leave off a couple stars that are offensively gifted. But I know one thing, and I remember the exact game. He told me it was Game 5 of the year when he was the GM, and he said, "You've got to be able to make the tough move and not worry about it." And I think he was mad at me at that point, and he said, because I played Parise at the end of the game, and Parise wasn't playing good, and we were losing. And he says, "You've got to be able to make that tough move." And he says, "That's the one thing about this job. You can't be shy about making moves." So that stayed with me, and I know he's not shy about making any of the tough moves, and he'll do it. And damn what anybody else thinks. If he thinks it's the right deal for the team, he's going to make that move.
Talk to us a little bit about Minnesota, the hockey market. Like, listen, this is one of the best hockey markets in the United States, one of the best hockey markets in North America or in the world for that matter. They love their hockey. Their high school tournament is legendary, as you know. Some major figures have gone in and out of hockey in Minnesota. The reception for Quinn Hughes, I mean, even in warm-up, like at the end, everybody there, like everybody at Grand Casino Arena, just like standing ovation, cheering for him every time he touched the puck. The other thing about this deal is, swinging back to Guerin for 1 second, he has a major advantage here that other teams don't have. Like, you're right, if they can't sign him on July 1st, they may have to deal him. But I think Bill Guerin makes this deal thinking that on July 1st, I can sign him to a contract under the terms of what we refer to now as the old CBA. Not to bore everybody with the specifics about the collective bargaining agreement, but the CBA changes on September 15th. So no more 8-year deals, no more front-loaded, heavily bonused contracts. Those things will be a thing of the past. Guerin has the ability here on July 1st to sign Quinn to a contract under the terms of the old CBA. So is it a risk? Yes. But if you're Bill Guerin, do you not look at this and say, it's a risk, but you know what? I'm favored in this deal. I got a better shot than other teams to re-sign this guy because they'll have to do it under the terms of the new CBA.
Yeah, and the owner Craig Leopold, he's not against paying big money to big players, as we found out in the past. And he's the only one that could say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to give you an 8-year deal. It's going to be for X amount of money, but we're going to give you $100 million up front." Like come September, you won't be able to do that. But he could do that. And that's a pretty going, well, that's pretty intriguing. But I'll tell you what, the players in Minnesota, there's still a lot left over from even when I was there. Great guys, great guys. The training staff is great. They're people that do things for you. They go all out. I think he'll really like it there. And just in the state of hockey, one of the reasons I bought the 2 junior teams in Hershey was because when I owned the one in Minnesota, seeing how many kids play hockey there, and that you didn't want it to end once high school was over. And I used to drive home every day. This is a true story. I used to drive home every day. And as you know, there's nothing but lakes, little ponds everywhere in Minnesota. And every one of them was somehow had the show shoveled off the ice, and kids were playing hockey. And there was 2 times that I actually stopped my car, went out in the middle of the ice, and started playing with them. It is such a cool hockey atmosphere to be there. And it's I think he'll fall in love with the place. He's not going to be hanging outdoors too much in the wintertime for the most part, because I think it was 12 below there. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and but he's going to love it. The fans and the people are extraordinary, and I thought it was going to be the place I ended up living, but it wasn't to be. And I think he'll just love the environment there, and it's going to be a very positive filled environment.
Already is so far 1 game into his career with the Minnesota Wild. From the Vancouver Canucks point of view, so they get a pretty significant package here. But to me, the whole thing revolves around one player, and that's Yves Boyum, the first-round pick a couple of years ago. He'll play 25 minutes. He'll anchor your first unit power play. To me, the whole thing, Marco Rossi is a 2nd/3rd line center. Liam Ogren is a middle 6 left winger. The first-round pick is whatever happens with that first-round pick. They either use it or they trade it for another young player. To me, the whole ball game is about Yves Boyum and how good he can be. If he can be anywhere close to Quinn Hughes, man, this is a good deal for the Vancouver Canucks. If he can't, it looks lopsided. How do you look at the return for the Vancouver Canucks here?
Well, exactly like you just said. They need centers. So Marco Rossi's a 2-time 20-goal scorer, and he's still, I think, 24 years old. So, they're thinking that he can fill a void that they don't have right now with so many guys going down and everything else. I think so they needed a center. They've been looking for one. But Boyum is the guy because, he's a left-handed shot like Quinn. He can skate, maybe not as good as Quinn, but he's got the potential growth of a Quinn. So they're saying if we can get somebody that even comes into that stratosphere as Quinn, then all of a sudden we get all these extra pieces beside him that are signed or don't have to be signed for a while, and our team can move forward here and probably be better. The way I look at it, they got 3 players that are playing in the NHL, and they've used so many call-ups from their farm club, from just making little trades like a David Camp thing to fill a hole. That I think this is good for them, and I think it might not help the team as far as points in the standings this year, but overall, I think it's a good deal for Vancouver, and it's a great deal for Minnesota because it puts them one step closer to being an elite team.
Yeah. One thing, and this is like, look, it's missed. It's one of the things that I was looking forward to all last week. But now it's just a matter of speculation. And that is, if this Minnesota deal didn't happen and Quinn Hughes was still a member of the Vancouver Canucks, I had Sunday circled because I wanted to see what the New Jersey Devils fans at the Prudential Center would have done with Quinn Hughes in their building. Gabby, do you think it would have been one of those rare situations where there's one player on the visiting team who's getting cheered from the hometown team in another market every single time he touches the puck? It would have been one of the most unique reactions that we've seen in hockey in quite some time. The speculation of Quinn going to New Jersey, he's playing at the Prudential Center, he's got a Vancouver Canucks jersey on, but every time he's on the ice, people are cheering. Do you think that's the way it would have gone?
I think it would have gone that way, at least at the beginning,
Yeah.
And he probably would have been, no, he wouldn't have been booed unless he scored goals against them. But especially with New Jersey losing again, and I will say this, New Jersey lost looking bad to the Canucks. I watched the whole game, and I just didn't think they looked like they were into it, or for whatever reason. And they lost to a Canucks team that only had 13 shots on goal. So I mean, it's I think the New Jersey fans were waiting for this to happen. They wanted the excitement of having a Quinn Hughes on your team. So I mean, I think they were pretty disappointed, quite frankly, because they wanted to see that jump, but I guess they're going to have to find some excitement somewhere else.
All right. Quinn Hughes and that deal is one of the things we spoke to Jackie Redmond from the NHL on TNT about early Sunday morning. Now, Jackie is a uniquely talented person in our industry, possessing this rare ability to bounce back and forth between cooperative and competitive sports. Her other job is with WWE, who just hosted a massive night at Capital One Arena on Saturday, punctuated by the retirement of one of their legends, John Cena. Hockey, wrestling, broadcasting, and leaving your skates at center ice. Here's Jackie Redmond on the Hockey Lifers. Jackie, first of all, thanks so much for joining us here on the Hockey Lifers. But with you on, it should be the Hockey/Wrestling Lifers, and we're going to get into that. But let me start by telling you this. One of my favorite sounds in all of sports is when, and it happens in hockey frequently, when the road team wins in overtime, the arena goes silent. And all you can hear is the visiting team celebrating. It's one of the coolest sounds, I think, in all of hockey. But for Saturday night in Washington, Capital One Arena, John Cena taps to Gunther's sleeper hold.
Yeah.
Arena went silent. Take us back to Saturday. And if you can, describe that silence.
You know what's so funny that you make that comparison to hockey is Peter Rosenberg, who works for WWE and was at Hot 97 for years.
Yeah.
He said this would be like Caps fans coming to watch Ovi win a Stanley Cup and they get blown out in Game 7. And it's just like
Silent.
everyone's so silent and so disappointed. I was lucky enough to be on the floor during the match, and it was an incredible match. I mean, every single person in that building was on their feet. Like, there was very few people sitting down. I mean, they were invested, even when it wasn't going well for John. But the second he tapped, I think people were shocked to see someone like John Cena, whose whole thing is never give up, in a way, sort of tap out. That's kind of giving up, right? That's saying, I can't do it. I can't go any further. I mean, there was I would say he was probably about 10-year-old boy bawling his eyes out next to me. Like, I just looked over at him and I was like, it's going to be okay. Like, it's going to be okay. I promise. But yeah, it just was like the air was sucked out of the building. And honestly, because it was John Cena's last match ever, I think people were confused or conflicted about how to react when he gets up. Like, do we cheer? How do we act in this moment? What do we do? Because he just got, I mean, that's what Gunther does though, right? Like he
Hmm.
crushes people's dreams. He takes the things that the fans love and he says, no, you're not getting that when I'm in the ring. We've
You
seen
know
him do
what?
it to Jey Uso.
Oh, yes, he did. Not and recently too. But I mean, I just thought the WWE did a great job of panning to kids there
Oh,
because the shock value on all their faces was crazy. And you've been there long enough now that you know that I think that that's what they want to do. They want to do whatever and nobody thinks that they're going to do. And that's the great shock moment from the WWE. But I was saying, how can John Cena lose in his final match? But they found a way to make it perfect because I thought the way it ended and the way he said goodbye was perfect. So it was pretty cool.
I think too, like it told an incredible story, but I think one of the things that I love about WWE is that that another shocking, crazy, emotional moment is going to happen at some point. You just don't know when. So, as a fan, when you're watching the shows and you're watching the product, you're just waiting for the next time they get you. You know what I mean? Like the next time that you're like, I can't believe that this person came back, or I can't believe that John
Yeah.
Cena just tapped out to Gunther, or I can't believe that Undertaker's streak is over. Like, they're so good at creating moments and creating buzz and getting people talking. And even after decades and decades of doing it, they still somehow manage to leave an arena full of people
mm,
decked out in John Cena gear who are able to say, hey, I was in the building for John Cena's last match. And yet the night ends with the crowd booing multiple
Yeah.
times. Like not booing John Cena, but booing the way that it ended. And, of course, like Triple H comes out and he's getting booed. I mean, there was a lot of different emotions and different layers to it, but it's so crazy to see an arena of people booing Hunter, booing the finish, and then the package plays, like the John Cena package,
yeah.
and everyone's crying. Like they go from being mad to crying to celebrating. It's just a crazy ride. Crazy ride.
Okay. So, Jack, talk to us here about this wonderful moment that you had after everyone's left, after everyone's in the back, after John Cena's left, and Cody Rhodes is ringside, just looking at the shoes. I want to ask you about the shoes in a second, but I'm an old cynical wrestling fan. I assume that everything is a work. All right, everything is
Yeah.
an angle. Everything's pushing to the next show. And to me, wrestling hasn't bought itself the benefit of the doubt to prove me otherwise. But but take me back to that moment. How much of that was spontaneous?
You know what? You're not alone. I think I think there's a large portion of WWE fans who have been watching for a really long time
Yeah.
that have the same belief as you, right? Everything means something. It all matters, right? Like that's what Sam Roberts always says everything counts. Everything means something,
Great
right?
pull. Great pull,
And I
Jack.
do thank you. And I do
Great.
shout out not Sam Wrestling, but who's fantastic. Like every time I see him, I'm like, oh God, this guy doesn't want to see me coming because I'm gonna just gab to him for like 30 minutes. He's like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Um, and I do think that everything counts, and I think everything means something. But that moment with Cody Rhodes, I hand to God, 100%, not even a little bit planned. The only thing that was planned was, hey, this is a huge night. John Cena's final match. Everyone's going to go out to the ring and celebrate John. We knew that. But Jackie, we want you there to take us there, to be our eyes and our ears
Hmm.
around the ring. Just try to capture the essence of the thing. That's what Joe Tessitore and the team told me. Just go out there. We're going to come to you. Just tell us what's happening. So you're nervous, right? Because it's such a big moment. What am I going to say? What can I possibly see or say that's going to describe what this is for superstars and for Cena? And fortunately for me, I did what I was told. I kept my eyes peeled. I was like, what's happening? What do I care about? What's interesting me right now? And I saw Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes on opposite sides of the ring, excuse me. John Cena leaves and, people follow, right? Everyone starts shuffling out, making their way up the ramp. Not Jey Uso, not Cody Rhodes. And Jey says across the ring to Cody, hey man, are you good? And Cody says, yeah, I'm all right. I just need a minute. And so Jey leaves. Meanwhile, my crew is pulling me up the ramp going, there's nobody in the ring anymore. We need a shot with fans and, people are leaving. So I go, no, this Cody thing, Cody's down there right now and he is having a moment. Like he is where his feet are and he's thinking something right now. He's having a real moment. And so we didn't tell Cody. I didn't ask Cody. We went live. Tessa tore through to me. Jey Uso showed up unprompted before he left. And then, I started telling them that Cody was down there. And when Tess said, hey, go ask him. And I said, all right. And I went, and Cody, to his credit, was gracious in a moment that clearly, was very emotional for him. He was poetic in a way in talking about what he was feeling in that moment and what John Cena means to not just wrestling fans, but wrestlers and the wrestling business and what he really was able to accomplish. So all the credit is to Cody. All of the credit is to Cody
No,
for
hang on.
being open, but it was not planned. Like even a little bit of it.
I have to interrupt you for 1 second. This is a broadcaster thing here. Okay. So I want to talk to you like broadcaster to broadcaster.
Sure.
Gabby, this over to you. I want to make one point. As broadcasters, we're always sort of told, don't ask, how do you feel? Because it's considered a lazy question. And I remember I had one programmer tell me, sometimes that's the best question. And as broadcasters, we always want to ask like something super intelligent and thoughtful. And sometimes the right thing to say or the right thing to ask is, how are you feeling right now? And Jack, I was so proud of you because you went down there and essentially that's what you asked them.
Yeah.
And it was the right thing. You just like swallow all sort of broadcasting, BS pride and just ask like the right question. It was honestly, Jackie, from a broadcaster's point of view, it was a perfect moment. It was a perfect question. I was really proud of you as a broadcaster.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. That
Great.
that actually means so much to me because and you know this about me, like I overthink everything. And so I am the person that like when I'm doing a hockey game, I'm getting ready to do like an on the bench interview with the coach, like mid period. I'm like, don't ask something stupid. What are you gonna ask? I just like kill myself over these questions. And like I miss, right? Like we all miss, like just like shooters shoot and sometimes they miss. And so I miss, but
Yeah.
it is something that I always am able to walk away from and saying like I tried my very best to come up with the right question and to come up with a good question.
That's
But
right.
in that moment,
That's
I
right.
appreciate you saying that because he was feeling a lot of things. And so what else are you going to ask him aside from what's happening up here right now? What is going on?
Yep.
I have to interject here
you.
because I could just listen to you two all day long. But Jackie, how does a girl from London, Ontario, okay, grown up a Leafs fan, bigger, obviously we met at the NHL Network and became very good friends. But how do you get involved where now you do hockey? And you're the first lady of wrestling hockey.
Oh,
like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there's nobody else that does what you do. And who would have thought, like, I mean, would you have thought growing up that you would have ever gotten into a situation like this? And how did you get into the wrestling from doing such a great job at the NHL Network?
You know what? I never would have thought that I would be doing either of these things, really. I mean, I dreamt about covering hockey. I dreamt about being on Hockey Night in Canada, but I never, even still, like sometimes when I'm working and I'm like, the panel is throwing to me and Gretzky's on the panel, I'm like, never would I have ever put this puzzle together. Like, this never would have been the way I would have thought it would have happened. But I love it. And it's crazy because, hockey was something that I was passionate about my whole life. I started skating when I was 5. My family, like most Canadian families, was watching Hockey Night in Canada every Saturday. So that was always there. Wrestling was something that I had about a 4-year love affair with when I was like 10 years old and then fell out of it and then kind of got back into it. So I kind of feel like I'm just super lucky on the WWE front. But I also feel like forever indebted to wrestling because when I was working at the Score, which turned into Sportsnet, the first show I ever got an opportunity to be an actual host of was Aftermath, and it was a wrestling show. And that was the show where we just talked about Raw and SmackDown every week, but it was the show where I figured out how to do this whole thing. Like that is the show where I was able to like figure out who I was on camera and get comfortable and make mistakes and learn how to speak and put sentences together. So I kind of like think about wrestling in that way where I'm like, man, like talking about wrestling was really where I found myself in broadcasting, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but that's like where I cut my teeth was talking wrestling. But in terms of getting this job, like this particular job, I'm not like no word of a lie. I had an opportunity in 2017 to work for WWE. Renee Paquette called me and told me they were interested. My name had come up, but it was at the same time that I got an opportunity at NHL Network. And I was like, well, if I have to choose, I'm always going to choose hockey. Like that's just like that is my heart and soul. So that was the choice I made. And then you fast forward to the Stanley Cup final, Montreal, Tampa. I'm in my hotel room in Montreal, and I shit you not, I get a cold call from Michael Cole. Like my agent was supposed to give me a heads up that Michael Cole was calling me. He
But
didn't get me
no,
the
yeah.
heads up in time. So I get a random call, I pick it up, and I'm like pacing in my hotel room, like, is Michael Cole really calling me right now? Like, what is happening? And that's sort of like where it all started with WWE trying to bring in, you know, sports broadcasters to make the product feel more like, you know, a real sport. And so I was kind of part of that wave of people that they started bringing in to kind of bring it that post-show sports feel.
There was and by the way, that old wrestling show, that I can still remember you and me having therapy sessions in the makeup room on
Yeah.
on a weekly basis, Jack. So but here's the thing, and this is to Bruce's point about how you've carved out this really unique position in the industry, you know, walking back and forth between wrestling and hockey. I think I've mentioned this to you before. When I was working at TSN on Off the Record, so I was doing a lot of the writing for a lot of the wrestling shows that Michael Landsberg was doing, you know, Vince and Brad,
Yeah.
Jared and Mick and all these guys, right? So, and at that point, the WWE made Michael Landsberg an offer, or we're talking to Michael Landsberg about coming over to work with then
Oh, I didn't know
WWF,
that.
now WWE. I had a lot of conversations with Michael about this, and the one concern that he had is a concern that a lot of other traditional broadcasters had, which is if you go to pro wrestling, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Like, what was the feeling in the industry for the longest time? And this is what makes you so unique, Jack. You can do both. Like, honestly, I don't think this should be like, I don't think this should be sort of shrugged off as like, oh, she does hockey and wrestling. Like, that's massive because that has completely broken a norm and broken a stereotype. And now it's
Yeah.
open doors for other people and other broadcasters who may be working in other sports and look at this and say, you know
Yeah.
what? Jack did it. I can do it. Like,
Well,
you ever think
first of
about
all,
that?
that's, you know, it's like I don't think that I do. I think that fear of like being sort of like once you go to wrestling, you can't like that's a real thing. And it's something I thought about too, when I made the decision to go over. But like I do appreciate what you're saying and it's so kind. I don't feel like I don't know. I don't I don't feel like I don't know. I don't feel like I'm like inspiring in that way.
Stop being
But
Canadian. Stop
I know,
being Canadian, Jack.
I knew you were gonna give me shit for this. But you know, I think that for me, like when I was offered the gig, and it's something that like, listen, I'll be totally honest. There were people in my life that I went to and was like, I have this opportunity, like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. But my first question to WWE was like, I'm only taking this gig if I can still do my hockey job. Like that's number one. And they have been, to their credit, incredible. Like they give me 5 weeks off during the playoffs to go do playoff runs with TNT, and they're very supportive. But you do worry, and there were people in my life that were like, "Listen, if you're gonna lose your credibility if you go start covering WWE,
That was
and
the
you're
vibe.
covering a fake sport."
That was the vibe.
And I kind of, you know, in the end, and I credit my sister and my dad and my mother, who you get most of the credit for any wise thing I say, you know, said like, listen, you've been covering the NHL, the league, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for 7 years. Like you need to trust that what you've done has earned yourself enough credibility that the people who matter and the people that are in hockey know what you're about. They know what you do. And going and having an incredible life experience with WWE isn't going to change who you are as a hockey broadcaster. It's just not. So when I kind of looked at it that way and I said, you know what, like I just have to bet on myself that I can do both of these things
Love
and
it.
do them well, then Like, if you can't bet on yourself, then what is the point of anything? You know, like,
Amen.
I think
Yeah.
that we have to follow our hearts. And like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but it's like, I do believe that when you are true to yourself and you make decisions based on what's actually in here, like you may fail and you may not always succeed, but you're never going to regret. Like you're never going to have regrets. You're gonna be like, I wish I didn't do that. Like I think about some of the things that I failed at in my life, and it sucks to be like, oh man, that show really didn't work. Like that sucked. But like, I don't regret doing any of those things. I don't
Good.
regret taking the chances.
Well, there's one thing left for you to do. Okay. Now,
Okay.
hear me out. Okay. Your
Okay.
career is skyrocketing. And I've got this pictured in because you know the last time Kevin pulled me in for an impromptu interview type
That
thing.
was so good, by the way. Like that whole skit it was you, him, and Sammy, right? Sami Zayn.
Okay. Well, this
So
is what
good.
I've got planned. Like, I mean, you've got to be doing an interview with some bad female wrestler, and she's going to say something, and you're going to say something that she doesn't like, and she's going to push you. And it's going to culminate in a 6-month little thing where at WrestleMania, Jackie Redmond is in the ring. And
you want me to have an angle. You want me to have an angle.
I will get an angle and get in the ring. So you can actually be a female performer. Then you would have you'd played hockey. You broadcast as well as anybody at hockey. You're doing the wrestling. Now you're a performer. I got to believe you'd be the biggest thing since spilt milk. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, listen, you've clearly never seen me try to run the ropes because it's bad. Like I'm telling you, and for anyone that's never done it, it is way harder than it looks. Like those ropes are so hard and like sturdy. Like you get bruises the first time you run ropes. It's crazy. I have no aspirations to have a wrestling match, but I will tell you that if one day, like Triple H came up to me. And by the way, I never know what to call him when I see him in person. I'm like, one day I call him Paul, the next day I call him Triple H. I'm like, I don't know what to call you. Like, you're the game to me. Like, I don't know. Like calling you Paul feels weird. But if he came to me one day and said, I need you to take a bump, I would be so excited. Like I would do it in a heartbeat. And if there was a female superstar, I think that would take pleasure in kicking my butt, it would be Nia Jax. Like she loves to bully me. She just like gives me so much crap.
Well, I'll be your manager. I just got to bring the kendo stick in there, and like I mean,
listen, Bruce, we're gonna need all the weaponry that we can get if we're gonna try to take down Nia Jax. Okay, like we're gonna need tables, ladders, chairs, kendo sticks.
Perfect.
Maybe a masked person coming in from the audience. I don't know. We'll need to pull out all the tricks.
Jeff, let me ask one more question here.
Of course.
Okay, let's change this because your hockey knowledge is second to none.
Oh,
what are you thinking about the NHL season right now?
Oh my gosh, that's such a open-ended question that I could answer in so many different ways. I love that we're in sort of transition's not the right word, but we're in sort of like a pivot year in the NHL. I think like we've talked a lot about some of the younger superstars kind of, staking their claim as the future of the game, the Macklin Celebrinis, the Connor Bedards, like having these amazing starts to the year. And then we're seeing like from a team standpoint, like a shift, like teams that were used to being bona fide 100% playoff teams are on the outside looking in. And I think that I quite like when things get shuffled around and changed. And so I'm enjoying sort of things not being as predictable as they've been in the past handful of years. So I like unpredictability. I think we've got a lot of that in the NHL right now. So I think that's it for me. I know it's a pretty generic answer,
but that's the kind of answer I wanted. Yeah.
But it's the truth. And it's an Olympic year, right? So to me, like, everything has that like sub layer of like, how does this impact the Olympics? How does the Olympics impact the regular season? I think that we're seeing that with a lot of goalies and injuries and teams that are in tough spots because of that, with the workload. So I love it. I just hope that the Olympics isn't a complete disaster. That's all I think about every day. I think about this rink. I think about this rink and like, how did this happen? Like, I need a documentary on the making of the rink over in Italy, because I cannot, like, it makes no sense, Jeff. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how do we get there?
It's gonna be
It's
seat of the pants. It's booking on the fly. Something happened in the match. We have to change the finish.
Yes.
Get word to the referee. He's gonna start calling this. That's what it feels like this is gonna be. And I think we're all sort of singing from the same hymn book on this one.
Yeah.
You mentioned swerves earlier, a couple of things, and then we'll let you get on with your day because all your days are packed.
I can talk to you guys forever, honstly.
I know, and trust me, Jack. There's a lot of people on the other end of this. Keep going, keep going. Phil, keep going. When you talk about swerves, and you talk about giving the audience something they're not going to expect, if I can drag that into hockey right now,
Sure.
Bill Guerin is the general manager of the Minnesota Wild. From a wrestling point of view, you can call him the lead booker of the Minnesota Wild as well.
I love what you're doing right now.
The Quinn Hughes swerve to Minnesota.
Oh my gosh, it was swerve all caps for me. Like, I know people like to, like, in hindsight be like, well, I kind of knew. I'm like, no, you didn't. There's a lot of people that did not see that coming.
Yeah.
I was on a flight, and most flights these days have Wi-Fi, okay? But I, on this one particular flight, had no Wi-Fi when this trade happened and went public. So I land and I have a plethora of text messages and a lot of, like, before you open them, you just see the beginning. Yeah. And it's like Quinn Hughes. It's just people saying Quinn Hughes because they assume that I know. And I don't know. So I see it and I'm like, Devils? I'm like, I have no idea, like, what has happened. And so when I saw what it actually was, I was like, oh my, like, what is this real? It was one of those ones where I went, we didn't get duped, right? Like, this is a real trade. This isn't like a fake Jeff Merrick tweeting this out. This is like a real, okay. It's a real Twitter account. So I think it's amazing though. Like and this is, again, like, it comes back to what I love about sports and professional wrestling is just that, like, the only thing we know is that we don't know until it happens. And so I love it. I've been watching a lot of the Minnesota Wild this year. So I've been very, like, I love Matt Boldy. I'm, like, very into that team because I've got some of them on my fantasy team, which I know no one wants to hear about. But, listen, when you have a guy on your fantasy team, you get locked in. You're locked in. So I love it for them. And I hope it leads to more points for Boldy on the power play. I think it will. We'll see.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you don't have. I was going to say, I hope you don't have Brock Faber because Quinn Hughes is now the number one guy in the point.
Yeah, I don't have Faber.
Okay, so he's not going to get the points that Quinn's going to get.
By the way, best pickup I made all year on the waiver wire, Wallstead.
Oh, good job.
That's a home run.
Bravo.
I thought about picking him up, and it was right before he had his first shutout. Then he had the shutout, and I had picked up, I think, like, Gibson instead. And that was a disaster. And so I was like, I dropped Gibby and I picked up Wallstead, and then he got the second shutout. And I was like, all right, I'm not letting go of you anytime soon.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He's been Matt's. Okay, one last thing, and then I'll let Bruce ask the last question here. But so I'm a huge fan. We see this in amateur wrestling. We see this in weightlifting as well. And I just love the visual, the closing shot of John Cena's sneakers in the center of the ring, wristband deal. I've always wanted, like, Jack, maybe you've heard me lobby for this before. And maybe we can get it this year with Dante Kopitar, who's calling it a career.
Yeah.
That announcement, we think back to Dennis Potvin did the same thing a million years ago too. We don't know what's going to happen with Ovi, but this might be a cool way, if Ovi's going to do it, for him to go out. I am waiting for a hockey player, their last game, skate to center ice, take the skates off, leave them at center ice, and walk off.
Oh, man.
The closing shot is the visual of the skates at center ice, signifying the career is over. Again, bored from the tradition of wrestling, bored from the tradition of powerlifting as well, but you're a TV person. Like, are you getting, like, the soap and warm water feeling about seeing someone skates at center ice?
You know what? You said that. I'm not even just saying this. Like, I got chills a little bit. And in my mind, I'm, like, imagining and picturing what you're saying. And for whatever reason, like, I pictured the gloves and the stick there with the skates.
Sure.
And for some reason, like, just gave me, like, I don't know why that would bring me back to road hockey, because, like, I wasn't like on rollerblades, but, like, sticks in the middle, right? Like, it's that sort of imagery of just, like, when you were playing as a kid, everyone's got their sticks in the pile. And so like it kind of symbolizes that in a way a little bit, just the imagery of it. But I think it would be super cool. But it's like, it's got to be the right, if that ever happens, it's got to be the right guy's got to do it. You know what I mean? Like you can't be some like, no disrespect, but like third line, like rando, and you're like putting your skates at center ice. You need to be like a John Cena type, like character of the NHL to pull that off, it off, and people not be like, oh, this guy thinks he's God, like, whatever. So,
well, you know what? I've seen that. Okay.
Really?
Well, something very similar. And if you've got 2 minutes, I'll tell you this story. Playing in Nova Scotia.
For you, Bruce. I have 1,000 minutes for you.
Playing in Nova Scotia for the Nova Scotia Oilers back in the 80s. We had 3 goalies, and so the practice was always tough. But Larry Kish was our coach, and he would just scream at this one goalie named Jim Ralph, who you all know very well.
Oh, yeah, Ralphie.
So Jim Ralph, like the slap shot goalie, after he's getting screamed at, he throws his stick in the air, he throws his gloves in the air, walks right off the ice, and we're all stunned in practice. Okay, we don't know what's going on. So he doesn't come back. So when we finally leave to go in the dressing room after practice is over, Jim had hung up all his equipment in effigy type thing, hung it all up, taped it all together on a rope with a noose. Okay.
No.
With a noose. Yes. And then he says, I'm done. And that's how he left the Nova Scotia Oilers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you know Ralphie, like we all know him, like he's the most the hilarious guy you ever want to meet.
He's great.
Yeah. And he ended up, we traded him to Newmarket or something. But not
so
that I had
funny.
anything, because he stayed a good friend of mine. But that's how he ended his tenure in Nova Scotia.
Wow, what a story, Bruce.
Wow.
Okay, Jackie, I'm going to ask you one last question here. I know this is a monumental cast, but I mean, you born in or grew up in London. Every time we get together, we talk about what's wrong with the Leafs. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question: where do you think they're going this year? What do you think their finished product is going to look like?
Well, I'll start by saying this. The fact that every time we talk over the years, the first question is, what's wrong with the Leafs? Like, therein lies the problem, is that we're always asking, what's wrong with the Leafs? that tells me something's been awry for a very long time. Oh my gosh, the Leafs, they're so frustrating. I didn't see the game last night, obviously, because I was working, saw the highlights, my family group chat. There was like 47 messages by the time I was done main event from my sister and my father going back and forth about all the things they're upset about with the Leafs. But for this year, like, I'm trying to take the Leafs as they are, right? Like, we knew that this season would be different. Marner's gone. It's not the same team. So, and I think that even the way that they sort of talked about themselves coming into the year, we knew that it was going to be a different type of Toronto Maple Leafs. They were going to be harder to play against. They were going to be a team that might have to work harder to get in the playoffs, but over a 7-game series, they're going to be a tougher out. That was kind of the rhetoric, at least that I was getting. And I don't know that that's true, but I am trying to take the Leafs as they are, right? Because they're not the team that, won the division, that scored all these points, that had, the core 4 doing everything. They are a more balanced team. And my hope as a naive, hopeful, wishful thinking Leaf fan is that all these trials and tribulations early are going to allow the Leafs to experiment with different lines, give players that don't normally get a chance. And we've seen that, right, with some of the guys having success in the last couple of weeks, like Dakota Joshua, right? He's had a string of decent games. I'm hoping that they become more of a collective team and are able to find success that way. But the realistic Jackie thinks that we'll be lucky if they get like an 8 spot, like a wild card spot going into the playoffs and fight from there, because their goalies are injury prone. And like Hildeby's like, I know he got pulled last night, but like he's had some good games. He's been a nice story. But at the end of the day, like you need a bona fide number 1 going into the playoffs. And I worry about their goaltenders being too injury prone. Matthews is looking better, but still doesn't look right. Like, he's just not He's not what he was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
100%.
And it's like, I hate saying it because everyone's saying it, but it's like, I don't even say it as a criticism. I say it as like a brokenhearted fan that's just like, where is the 34 that I know and love? Like, where is that shot? Where is that? Like, he's looked better, I think, in the last like week or so, but still not quite the same, right? So I just hope that Matthews can get back to being Matthews, and then we'll go from there. But they're not, to me, it's like, I don't even know that a playoff spot is guaranteed. Like, I don't think that they're a for sure playoff team, especially with the way some of the other teams in the East are playing. So I'm nervous. I'm more nervous than I've been in a long time for the Leafs to actually make the playoffs. Normally, we're just like, please don't get eliminated in the first round again. Please don't do the thing. Please don't do the thing. And now it's like, well, you know what? I wouldn't mind just like getting to the first round, at least like seeing some playoff hockey. So I don't know, man. Their blue line's a mess. Like, I could go on and on.
Yes, you could. I know. You just started right there.
Why couldn't they get Quinn Hughes?
Well, they've kind of traded away all the picks and prospects over the years.
Jeff's like, well, Jackie, their cupboards are what we like to call empty. They don't have anything.
You know what? You could have found a tie-in. He lived in Toronto. His dad worked for Toronto for a while. Like, I mean, I always believe that if you want to make a deal, you may not win the deal per se, but I mean, you can make a deal. You might have to give up more than you want. But if there's anybody that needs a defenseman like Quinn Hughes, I got to believe with the Leaf power play and the way the Leaf defense is.
Oh, the power play. What the hell? I don't understand. Another thing that Jackie doesn't understand is like, how did they mess up that rink in Italy so bad? Like, how does that happen? And then the Leafs power play. Like, this is not tracking for me.
Jackie, can you think of anybody maybe on the call with us now whose calling card is always having an elite level power play? And
listen, Merrick, if you asked me if there was a certain former hockey coach that was known for offense and power play, whose first and last name starts with B. If you ask me if that name has been mentioned in the family group chat in the last 2 weeks, I would have to say no comment, because the Marcinator, as I like to call her, my sister Marcy, has already said, get Bruce Boudreau in there to fix the goddamn power play. So you've got a fan in my sister, Bruce, because
she's opinionated. We've had an interview before with her.
She's honking the Bruce horn. Let me tell you, she's on board.
So you're the star of the Redmond group chat. That's great to hear. Congratulations, Gabby. You've finally made it, Jackie. We've been really selfish about taking your time. I know you say you'll talk all day. You're talented, you're kind, you're wise. And the one thing that we always say about you is, man, you are versatile. You can swim in a lot of different ponds. And because of that, we'll end with this one. There's very few people that we can say this about in broadcasting, in sports, cooperative or quote unquote legitimate. You can do anything. Jackie, thanks so much for joining us today.
You guys are the best. I love you both so much. Please have me on again. And also, like, the two of you together is such a great combo. The hockey, the wrestling. Like, I want to know what your text chain looks like Merrick and Bruce. Like, what is that? What are those combos like?
Usually we're roasting his son Ben.
And there's a lot to roast there. Yes.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. You guys have the best day, Bruce.
Thanks,
maybe I'll see you at Monday Night Raw.
Are you gonna? If you're gonna be at Monday Night Raw, I will see you at Monday Night Raw.
I'm headed to Hershey in like an hour, so.
Well, call me when you get there.
I will.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Jack. Great stuff. All right, Gabby, Jackie Redmond, really generous with her time, up very late on Saturday for the John Cena match, and then got up very early for us on Sunday morning for that conversation. You know, it's like they say at the Bell Center and formerly the Montreal Forum, she is la première étoile. Gabby, Jackie Redmond, the first star. Your thoughts on Jack?
Did she ever have a lot of energy for a woman that was up all night? But I mean, she I think she was ready to go for another half an hour minimum,
Easy.
you know, but that's what she's like. She's like that on the show when we were at the NHL Network and when we'd go out to dinner, and she'd be like that as well. I mean, she just loves talking sports. And I mean, the wrestling thing, she's so good at it. And I mean, everybody, you know, I get more questions asked me. She says, "Hey, what's Jackie like when you see her? Like, I mean, is she really Jackie?" And I'm going, yeah, she's pretty genuine. And like, I mean, she's a Maple Leaf fan through and through. Her sister phoned up on the radio. I got to tell you this. Her sister one day, this is what like the Redmond family's like.
Yeah.
Her sister phoned up when we were on the network the one day and just started telling me and saying, "This is what the Leafs got to do." And she went on a rampage for about 5 minutes. And I went, "Whoa, like I'm just here. I'm not in charge there." So they're a very excitable group, but she did a great job and so enthusiastic. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we thank Jackie Redmond for making time available for our podcast in a very, very busy schedule. And that's the thing that I've always done. We worked together for a number of years at Sportsnet. And the one thing that I always noticed about Jackie, she was always busy. And in order to be that busy in any career, in any profession, your game has to be tight. Like you have to have like everything in order. If you're going to be that busy, you got to be organized, you got to be precise, you got to be professional. And that is Jackie Redmond, and she's always been that way. And she's done a number of different sports, and she's found herself a really nice position here right now, bouncing back and forth between hockey and wrestling. And here's the other thing about Jack too. I have no idea what she's going to do next, but I know she's going to be successful at it. Maybe she stays hockey, maybe she stays wrestling, maybe she does something else. Who knows? But she's one of the most versatile broadcasters I've ever met.
Like I said yesterday to her, I said the next step is for her to get in the ring with somebody and start a feud and become a wrestler. That's the next step for her.
All right, start eating, Jack. Start eating. We should mention as well, interesting conversation with Jackie about Quinn Hughes. We should mention the Minnesota Wild play the Washington Capitals Tuesday night at Grand Casino Arena. Now, quick Caps conversation here. Tough one against the Winnipeg Jets. A returning Connor Hellebuck, 5-1 decision for Scott O'Neill's squad here. Minnesota kind of had their way with the Boston Bruins on Sunday. What do you expect Tuesday's matchup between the Wild and the Caps to be all about?
Well, it's an interesting question because I think it was a perfect storm in Winnipeg. The Caps had gotten points in 10 straight. Yeah. Winnipeg lost 3 in a row, and we know they're a good team. They won the President's Trophy last year. They get their starting goaltender back. Everything was pointing for a letdown for the Caps and a surge for Winnipeg. So I think that game almost came as it is, as it should be. Now the game goes in. I very rarely in the last 2 years have seen the Caps throw 2 duds up in a row, and they're playing a team where now they know is one of the best teams, and they got to get up for it. And I think you'll see the Caps play as good a game as they can play, and it'll be a real true test to see how good Minnesota is. I think you're going to have 2 teams that really know how to keep the puck out of the net, and it's going to be low scoring, but it's going to be physical, and it's going to be exciting. But this to me is a true litmus test for both teams, both the Capitals and the Wild. And let's just see where they are at this point in the season, because I think both teams will play their best hockey tonight.
Red versus green at Christmas time. It's a festive occasion. It's the Minnesota Wild facing off against the Washington Capitals. Hey, one quick note from that Winnipeg game for the Caps. Bogdan Trineyev makes his Washington Capitals debut. Playing sewer ball, the rookie gets kicked out. Getting ribbed by the guys. He wore number 87. Alexander Ovechkin called him Bogdan Crosby, which is a lot of fun and lighthearted. Not necessarily about his performance, but just rookies in their first game. Did you ever talk to guys before their first game? Any like pep talk from the coach? Hey, first game in the NHL, kid. Anything that you would do special for any guys that are having their first game?
Anytime a guy had his first game with me, especially if I didn't know him, like, I mean, no, that's not true. If I did know him, if he was a guy called up from Hershey, I would just take him aside and say, "Listen, man, this is just the one of many. Have fun out there. You only get one first time to play in the NHL, so enjoy it. Just play your heart out. You're going to make mistakes. I don't care about the mistakes. As long as you play hard and you play as do whatever you can for the team, it's going to be fine. So there's no reason to be nervous. So go out there and have fun.
The first player since 22-23 to wear the number 87, other than Sidney Crosby, in the NHL. Speaking of Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins, they pulled off that massive deal last week with the Edmonton Oilers, sending netminder Tristan Jarry and Sam Poulin to the Edmonton Oilers. Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak, and a second-round pick go the other way. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins have a weekend they would much rather forget. Games against the San Jose Sharks and the Utah Mammoth. They're up 5-1 against San Jose. They end up losing in overtime. John Klingberg with the heroics there. And then Sunday against Utah, they're up 3 Cobb. And that one goes into overtime as well. Dylan Gunther with the overtime heroics, and Pittsburgh loses both of those games. In the San Jose game, we saw something interesting. Tyler Wotherspoon taking a good, healthy run at Will Smith. And of all people, who goes to defend him right away? Macklin Celebrini. First of all, do you have a thought on the Pens weekend and a thought on Celebrini going at Wotherspoon?
Well, let's take a shot at the Pens weekend, which was look, when you're a Caps fan and the Pens look so shitty in 2 games, you're really happy. Like it's just it goes without
it's
saying.
Your enemy.
So it's our enemy. So for them to allow in the third period in overtime 9 goals in 2 games in the third periods in overtime is amazing. And you would think, I couldn't believe the San Jose lead. Now if people didn't see the game, they were leading 5-1. San Jose scored 2 goals, which allowed them to pull the goalie basically to make it close. And Rust has a partial breakaway, shoots the puck at the empty net, hits the post, and doesn't go in. They come down and they score to make it 5-4. Then they score a minute later to make it 5-5, and then they win in overtime. I would have been just devastated. But the next day, I can picture in between periods, the second and third period. Okay, boys, the greatest thing about sports is you get to redeem yourself the next day. We've got this lead, let's go at them. And then in the first 2 minutes or the first 5 minutes, they give up 2 more. And they're going, oh my God, here we go again. And so I'm thinking that it's something they got to get out of their heads, because those were 2 wins right down the drain. And they still get a point for it, but it's going to be something that, there's not a thing a coach hates worse than giving up a third period lead. Because it always shows in the statistics what your record is leading after 1, leading after 2, and nobody wants to have they're 6-15 leading after 2 or something, So I think it was pretty devastating to the Penguins. It's going to be very interesting to see how they rally from this. And hopefully they do, I guess, if you're a Penguin fan. But it was as bad 2 losses as I've seen in a while.
Do you have a thought on the deal? We thought that was going to be the big deal that was going to produce the most smoke, and we're going to talk about it all weekend. And then the Quinn Hughes deal happens on Friday night. But that Jarry trade is massive. It's not like, the Penguins haven't had Jarry out there for a while, even going back to the draft last year. So should come as no surprise. Skinner goes the other way. Brett Kulak goes the other way. Spencer Stastny comes in to take Kulak's spot with the Edmonton Oilers on the left side on the third pair. Do you have a thought on the Penguins Edmonton deal from late last week?
Well, to me, it was something that had to be done. I think if you were an Edmonton Oiler, they've gone with that duo of goalies for 3 years, and I think it's a little bit of a sideways move. I don't know. I don't know if Tristan Jarry's having a good year. He's playing well. And, Stuart Skinner, his contract is up this year, I think. And
it is.
And so, they're going to get a chance to look at him. If they like him, they don't like him. And Pittsburgh tried to get rid of Tristan Jarry last year, and he's got 2 years left on this deal. So, it's let's just see if the change of places where we're living can get these guys playing to where both teams think the potential is so high. When these goalies came into the league and were playing, they were supposedly going to be next generational goalies type thing and be stars, and they didn't do it in the cities they were in. So maybe a change of pace, change of where you're living will really help them. So I mean, I just, but as I see it, equal for equal. I don't see, you take the money and everything out of it. I just think two mediocre goalies for each other, but that's me.
To Gabby, to your point as well, when you say like, and, he was available last year, he was on waivers 11 months ago. Anybody could have had him for free. And out of that, it turned into a deal for Skinner and Kulak and a second round pick as well. So a tidy bit of business here done by Kyle Dubas and the Penguins. And like to your point about the expiring contracts, could be another shoe to drop in all this one. If they don't like what they have, they're on expiring deals, trade them at deadline. People are always looking for depth defense and another goaltender.
And you're right. When you're Kyle Dubas and you're sitting there thinking, I've got to bury this Tristan Jarry and $5 million plus for nothing, and you end up getting three pieces in a trade back, you've done a pretty good job. And so, I mean, you got to have hats off. Now, will it work? We're going to soon see. I'm sure Stuart Skinner is going to play the next game for Pittsburgh, and we'll see how he fares.
All right, time for Hey Gabby. Your chance to ask Bruce a question. Use the hashtag HeyGabby. This from Todd Poole. When do you think we'll see a split defenseman award with the offensive Bobby Orr award introduced? Also, a Wayne Gretzky award renamed for the MVP. What do you think of those two? Should they rename the Hart Trophy to the Gretzky? And should they split the Norris? Maybe one's a Norris Trophy and the other is for offense, and that becomes the Bobby Orr. Have you thought about this one much at all in your life, Gab?
Not really. I think the NHL has enough awards, to be honest, and I understand the question. I mean, you've got the Rod Langway scenario where you're just the best defensive defenseman, and he won it a couple times. Now it seems like whoever gets the most points as the defenseman is the winner of the Norris, and I think you can get equal recognition, but I think, quite frankly, that it's still going to be the combination of defense and forward that you're not going to be able to get that award if you can't play a lick of defense. Like, I don't think Bouchard is going to win that award, and no matter how good offensively he is. And it's so I'd like to keep that one the same, because I think when they start giving out the NHL awards, they've got so many to give out. I don't want to lessen the award by giving out too many, if that makes any sense.
The one player, can I just interject really quick? The one player that I do wonder about, and I'm glad you brought up Rod Langway, who was just like, and we had him on the podcast recently, like the defensive stalwart, defensive defenseman. Really glad that he made it in the Hall of Fame. I think that's an area where the Hall of Fame needs to clean up. They need to have more defensive defensemen in the Hockey Hall of Fame, but I digress. The one player that I wonder about is, and you know how once upon a time they created the Selke Award just because they had to give Bob Gainey something for the type of player that he was in the NHL? Here's how I think about it. How do you reward Jacob Slavin for being the best defensive defenseman in the NHL? I mean, one of the fun things that whenever I watch Carolina, I always sort of snicker watching forwards trying to put the puck underneath his stick. It's impossible. It's like one of the sort of skill within a skill that very few defensemen have. He's a sort of the closest thing I think we have in the NHL to a Rod Langway, the defensive defenseman who minds his own knitting in his own zone. Could there be something for that in the spirit of we're creating the Selke because we want to give Bob Gainey something?
I mean, I guess you could. Like I said, I just think there's too many awards. Like, I mean, I think, Slavin's reward is he's going to play in the NHL for 20 years and make a lot of money. And that's his reward. I mean, he chose to be, a great skating defensive puck moving defenseman. And that's great. Jonas Brodin in Minnesota is very similar to that.
Great one.
the scenario too. So I mean, but I don't know if you want to give a league award to those guys, even though they're good. I don't know. They just don't move the needle that much for me, unless they're on my team. Unless they're on my team.
How about rebranding the Heart to 99?
Well, I think we can rebrand everything to 99. He's everywhere. He does everything. You know what? We rebranded the Lindsay. I think was one of the trophies that we changed. I don't think. I think eventually there's got to be a trophy named after Wayne. I mean, he is the greatest player that's ever laced on skates, and his numbers. Even though the goal number was beaten, his point number will never be beaten. His dedication to the game will never be beaten. So, I mean, I think it would only be apropos to name something after Wayne Gretzky.
All right. Again, your chance to ask Bruce a question. Please use the hashtag HeyGabby. We finish up with Storytime. We've talked a lot about Minnesota defensemen, and here's another. Gabby, to close us out this week, tell us a story or share a thoughts on Jared Spurgeon of the Minnesota Wild.
You know, I was talking to a reporter yesterday from Minnesota, and he was asking me, you know, what's Quinn like? And I said, listen, he reminds me of Jared Spurgeon, and that is the biggest compliment I can give, because Jared Spurgeon is one of the greatest men in the game that I've seen. And you know what? Here's a quick story is I kept hearing this when I was going to sign with Minnesota as a coach. We got this Jared Spurgeon, and he's really good. So I went into the room the first time, and I met him, and I walked out of there, and I goes, that's the guy they're talking about? He's like 5'6", 150
Where's the rest of you?
pounds. Yeah, I thought he was a stick boy, and and until you see him play and his intelligence, he is so smart. He didn't start the year out great, but I think he's a great leader. I think he plays so hard. When he used to play with Suter, he used to have to go back and get every puck, and he would be the guy that moved it all the time. And I just think he's a superhuman being. And I'm thinking Quinn and him on the same team, and Quinn's the same guy. You're going to see him and you're going, this guy's what they're talking about, this great star. He's only 5'9" and he's 160 pounds. And you got the two of them there that are fast as lightning, that are going to be able to move the puck to the Kaprizov got 2 goals last night. And how to get him defense moving the puck up to them. So, I mean, I think the forwards are going to love these two guys. But Jared Spurgeon will always go down as one of my favorite players ever. And I think Minnesota is just so blessed to have him as their captain.
We'll watch from Minnesota against the Washington Capitals on Tuesday. Gabby, great job again. Want to thank Jackie Redmond for stopping by as always. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Hockey Lifers. We'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Sounds good. Have fun. Have a good hockey week.